Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm checking out the Eachine FB90 that has been sent in for review by Banggood.com. And as you can see, this is another blown up tiny whoop style aircraft, but this one has a bit of a twist. You see, recently on the channel I reviewed the QX70, which was the same form factor as this, and I liked it, but it definitely lacked thrust, which was surprising with 8mm motors, but it seems like that this setup with 8mm motors just doesn't like these tiny propellers, unlike a 6mm motor for the tiny whoop class of aircraft. But this one is different, as I say, because it takes a 2-cell battery, and I'm interested to see if that is going to make any difference when it comes to the thrust of this one. So it feels really light, this does. In fact, I think it comes to about 41 grams, and with the battery it's about 62 grams, so not the heaviest of models, but not the lightest either. It's about right for a 2-cell brushed model, and that is what this is. So we have got the 8mm brushed motors here, and they are actually protected with this landing gear, which I quite like, and it sits on the ground quite nicely. And then we have got these rubber bands here that are keeping the wires tucked up here. It's a really nice design, I have to say. Now, the frame is made out of carbon fibre. It does seem very thin carbon fibre there. And then of course we have these ducts here, and this one comes in the form of a B. So we have this canopy here as well. Now it's a bind and fly, and it comes with FreeSky with this particular one, so a FreeSky receiver. It's built into the flight controller, but it also is available with FlySky and DSM2, which is pretty much the standard these days, which is nice. Now of course we have these ducts here, which act as prop protectors for indoor flying, so should be pretty good for that. And the canopy here, it covers up the flight controller underneath as well, and you can see that there. So that's pretty much all there is to it. We have a camera up the front here as well. It's got a built-in antenna, but you will notice no cloverleaf antenna. It's got a little sleeve dipole on the inside there, so you could see that as a plus point or a negative, because as it's inside there, you're definitely not going to get the greatest reception. In fact, I think the best thing to do when modding this would be to drill a hole in the top there and have the antenna come through the top, or somehow have it come through the bottom would probably be the best, actually. But yeah, it looks really nice, and if you want to lose some of the weight on this, then we could remove this canopy here. However, that is going to protect the electronics somewhat. And as I mentioned in the QX70, these propellers, they weren't very effective with these ducts as well, but you can actually remove these ducts. There's just 2 screws there, and that's going to lift these off, so I guess you could stick some props on there. I know that a few people have been sticking the Hubsan 3-leaf propellers on these for the QX70 to get more thrust out of them, but I'm hoping that we might not need to do that with this. We could do it, but I want to see how it flies with these, because I like the form factor of them, and it looks like there's a little bit more space with these propellers as well. On the QX70, the props caught on the ducts, but that doesn't seem to be the case with this one, which is nice. So it has got a SP Racing brushed flight controller in there that comes with Clean Flight on it. Now, you know the drill with me. I put Betaflight on there, and I have done that so many times, so I'm actually not going to do that with this one. I'm going to plug it in and fly it on Clean Flight. I'm not going to change any of the settings whatsoever. I'm going to follow the manual that it comes with. It's got a very good manual, and I'm just going to fly it like that, because I think a lot of people like to do that. In fact, I read in the comments that people install Betaflight and they really struggle to get a good tune out of it. So I'm just going to use Clean Flight and fly it around, because when I flew the QX70, I put Betaflight on it and it turned out there wasn't enough power to do acro anyways. I'm expecting a bit more power out of this, but we shall see. So, what else do you get in the package? We have this 2-cell battery. It is a 400 milliamp 2-cell battery, and you'll notice no balance port, so that's a bit of a shame really, because I don't know how the charger is going to know that the cells are charged evenly, so we could have a few puffed batteries after a while here. So yeah, I like it though. I like the form factor. Got a micro lossy connector there, and then we have this charger, which I guess you would say was proprietary, because a micro lossy connector is usually for a 1-cell battery. I suppose if you've got a hobby grade charger, you can change the voltage, etc., and it's not really proprietary, but I have a 1-cell charger that I usually charge these micro batteries with, and I won't be able to use that, so I'm going to have to use this. And it's a USB charger, and it's probably going to take about an hour to charge this 400 milliamp battery there. But yeah, battery, charge it, but guess what? Second battery. I really like this. Now, a lot of these ready to fly, bind and fly, whatevers, usually only come with just the one battery. I really like when they put 2 in there. It just makes a huge difference for me. You just can't fly with one battery, especially when it takes an hour to charge them. Get 2 going there at least. Once you've finished flying one, you can stick the other one on charge, etc. And 2 spare motors. So they have been removing spare motors and spare batteries, but they haven't in this package, so I'm really glad to see that. We have a Hobson prop remover, which is really nice. Spare set of props there, also really nice. And then we have got this for the batteries. Now, you are given enough of them, so they're Velcro sticky pads, and they are for going 2 on the battery and 1 on the quadcopter. However, I won't be doing that because it adds a little bit of weight. Instead, I'm going to take this canopy off here and wrap a band around it, which to me is a better solution. This is the box that it comes in. Really nice box. You can actually store it in the box as well, which is always a nice touch. A lot of these bind and flies these days, you have to remove the props to put them in the box. Just a small thing. And then we have the manual here, a really, really good manual. So pretty much tells you everything that you need to know. We have all of the channels there. So it's a 48 channel VTX, pretty impressive, 25 milliwatt. And then it explains here that we have got 2 buttons on the camera, so I'll have to take the top off for that. One is for changing the format, NTSC and PAL, that's the front one, and the back one is to cycle through the channels, and then a long press cycles through the bands, etc. And we also have a diagram here of the flight controller, which is good. So we have the built-in receiver up there, and we also have the option to install a beeper, which is nice, and the motors actually go into these JST connectors, which is really nice as well. Shows you how to bind it to your Taranis, so you have to put it in D8 mode, so make sure that your Taranis has got D8 mode there. And it's also showing you what setup you need here, so it's saying just the one switch here. So auxiliary 1 will arm it and also send it into angle mode. I'm going to switch that up so that I've got acro on one of them as well, so I'll set it up to arm on a auxiliary 2 and have angle, horizon, acro on the other. So that's pretty nice. Then also shows you as well if you got the Fly Sky version. Now this is something that I don't like. With the Free Sky version, you have to short this little jumper here, and they say to use a pair of tweezers. I didn't do that. I used a soldering iron and just blobbed a bit of solder on there because it's really fiddly. But what you have to do is somehow get the battery sort of lodged in the connector at the back there. Take something to short the pins, whatever it is at the front there. Plug the battery in and the light will start flashing. Then send the Taranis into the bind mode, and then you'll get a solid green light, and then unjump or whatever you were using and it'll be bound. And that was really easy. In Clean Flight it was already set up to TAER for the Taranis. It was already set up to S-Bus, so it was completely ready to go if you don't want to plug it into the computer. As I say, the only one thing that I'm going to change is the flight modes, and then I'm going to keep everything else the same. So that is pretty much it. Let's get this top off so you can take a closer look at that. So this is what it's like with the top off. It's a really nice design, actually. So the camera just sits in this little plastic mount here, and without this top on it sort of moves about a bit, so I don't know if that's going to cause any jello on the screen, but we'll have to see. So yeah, as I mentioned in the manual, we have got this back button here which cycles through the channels and bands. Then this one changes the format if you need to do that. And also you can see on the side here, there's two LEDs as well. So there is an LED setup in Clean Flight just on the throttle, and these lights, they're so bright and they stick through the side as well to look like eyes on the bee. And yeah, they change colour when you throttle up. And you can see that we have that sleeve dipole there. You probably want to bend that up and stick it through the canopy. And we also have this tiny antenna here as well for the receiver. You probably want to stick that up as well. Well, it's a really nice design. It looks like the flight controller is just slightly off center there. Usually not a great amount of passion goes into the build of these things. And you can see I have added one of these black rubber bands here for the battery to fit in as well. So let me just plug this in. These LEDs are going to be too bright, I think. Let's see if it'll show the color change. So it goes from sort of a pinky color to a green when you throttle up. It's quite funny. Okay, let's go for a line of sight flight with this. It's one of the shortest days of the year today, so I've not got long. I've got it in angle mode and I have installed acro, I think. So let's give it a try. So if I arm it there, the props don't start. That is set up as default. So now if I move the throttle, it should take off. Yep. Oh, this one flies so much nicer than the QX70. Quite a noisy thing. Let's check out the punch. It's not great, and I completely throttled off there because I'm used to having my motors continue spinning, so you have to be careful of that. Oh, this is going to be a good one for indoors. Maybe we do have a tiny whoop competitor in a larger model. I think if I'm to do acro, I'm gonna have to gain a fair amount of height. So let's see if I can do that. I'm in acro there. Let's go for a flip. Oh no. I think a lot of that was my fault. Let's try it again. Let's get some height on. There we go. I didn't level out of the roll properly. Let's try again. Actually, you know, the tune doesn't seem too bad in Clean Flight here. Let's try a flip. Yeah! It does it! I'm impressed. I think if you want to gain more power, then you're gonna have to stick those 3-blade props on. But for just going around the house, I think definitely gonna be on par with a tiny whoop or Inductrix, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. You can actually see those LEDs because they're very bright as well. See if we can get a shot of this thing. A little bit windy today, getting blown around. I don't think I put that canopy on properly. It sounds like it's vibrating a bit. I think that might be because I stuck a rubber band under it and it's shaking. Maybe the rubber band's not a great idea. Yeah, canopy's lifting up slightly. Okay, I'm going to bring it in for a landing and do some FPV before I completely lose the light. So here is some footage taken from the DVR of the Fat Shark goggles. These are from the HD3s that I have been testing, and watch this. This thing is so fun to fly FPV. Now, as I mentioned in the line of sight flight, doesn't have a huge amount of power, but what it does have is accuracy. I have been trying for a long time to fly my other brushed models through these branches, and it usually ends up in me whacking one of them and crashing. And you can see here, you can smack into the tree as much as you want and it doesn't fall out of the sky. It's relatively unaffected, and that is why everybody likes these tiny Whoop style aircraft. I mean, look at that. You can knock into things and it really doesn't affect how it flies too much. Now, this is another flight that I was doing, and one thing that I noticed is the picture is really clear. I think it's a really nice image, nice and sharp, and that is how I'm able to thread the needle through these branches, as there's no other branches hiding there and I'm not crashing into them. So yeah, really impressed with the image and also the signal. Now, for this being a dipole antenna, there is very minimal breakup, and as I fly through these tree branches here, I've got my back facing the quadcopter, and look at that, the tree is completely in line with me there, and it wasn't breaking up at all. I've had some cloverleaf antennas perform worse than this, so I think it's sad to say that I think these indoor micros are going to be going down the dipole route, just simply because the micro cloverleaf antennas are good. They give good range, but the minute that you crash and the quadcopter lands upside down, your antenna's finished. It gets bent and broken. There's various solutions for that, like putting cable ties over the top of them, but that adds more weight. I think these dipole antennas are going to be the way that everyone goes, because you don't need a huge amount of range when it comes to these micros. You're not flying them any further than, say, 100 meters. This field is about 120 meters, and it's all I ever need. And the combination of this dipole antenna and the 25 milliwatt camera is ample. So now what I'm trying to do is land on this bin, and it doesn't go very well at first. I sort of smack into it, but there you go. It's not raining today for once, so able to take advantage of there being no water on the top of that bin. So I just wanted to demonstrate how accurate this thing is. And now I've gone into acro, and again you'll see this is the stock clean flight tune, and it was pretty good, I have to say. Not much need to install Betaflight on this. Of course, that's something I usually do. There's a little bit of a wobble there, and that was on the descent because this thing doesn't quite have enough power when you go and do a punch out, so that is why it wobbled. It wasn't really the tune, it was the fact that it was a little bit underpowered. So yeah, I have to say, pretty impressed with this one. I think it'll be good for flying indoors, and I think it'd be nice and accurate to set like an indoor track up. I think that'd be pretty cool. Get some mini gates, and I think this one's accurate enough. I'm just trying to pick the next gap to fly through here, but I give up. I think the battery is starting to deplete. And that is something that I was pretty surprised about with this one. The battery life is pretty good. I was getting about a 4.5 to 5 minute flight. At about this time it's starting to bog down, so I'm going to come in for a landing. But yeah, the flight time pretty impressive. And the only thing that it's lacking is power, really. So I guess if you want more power, you could maybe cut those ducts off and put some 3-leaf props on if that's what you want to do. But for me, I think I'm going to leave it like this. I was enjoying flying it a lot. Threading the needle through these trees and not crashing is a new experience for me. So yeah, I'm going to keep it like this. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'll put a link in the description to this if you wish to get one. And you can see here that the battery is starting to struggle now, so I'll come in for a landing. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.